Make an avoidant feel this once, and they'll be attacked for life. Avoidants are different when it comes to love and attachment. They don't attach like most people do. Their natural instinct is to protect their independence and keep emotional closeness at a safe distance. Intense affection, constant messages, or pressure to commit can trigger discomfort, making them pull away, even if they care deeply. So if you've been chasing, over-explaining, or trying to make them feel something, it often backfires. The truth is, avoidants don't attach to words, promises, or pressure. They attach to feelings, a very specific, rare feeling that makes them want to stay. That feeling is emotional safety without loss of freedom. It's when they realize they can be close to someone without being controlled, judged, or overwhelmed. For an avoidant, this is powerful because most relationships in their life have felt demanding, chaotic, or restrictive. When you create this sense of safety around them, they don't just relax, they start enjoying the connection, thinking about you naturally, and slowly forming attachment. This isn't manipulation, it's understanding how their mind works and giving them space to feel secure. Avoidants need to experience closeness on their terms. When they do, they can't help but attach, quietly, deeply, and often permanently. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly what feeling triggers an avoidance attachment, the mistakes most people make that push them away, and the actionable steps you can take to make them feel connected, without chasing or forcing anything. Today in this video we discuss how to make an avoidant feel this once, and why it can lead them to become truly attached for life. The biggest mistake people make. Before we dive deeper, it's important to understand the biggest mistake people make with avoidance. Many believe that showing more love, attention, or emotional intensity will make an avoidant feel closer. They assume chasing, over-explaining feelings, or pushing for commitment will secure the relationship. The truth is completely opposite. These behaviors often trigger avoidance and create distance instead of connection. Avoidants have learned over time that closeness can feel risky. Their nervous system associates pressure, high intensity, and emotional demands with discomfort or even threat. This doesn't mean they don't care, it means their attachment style is wired to protect them from feeling overwhelmed. When someone pressures them or chases them emotionally, it activates their fight or flight response. They may withdraw, go silent, or even consider leaving. One of the most common mistakes is chasing after them. Many people try to fill the gaps left by an avoidance distance with constant messages, calls, or repeated attempts to get them to open up. But avoidants rarely respond positively to this. Chasing communicates a lack of respect for their space, which is one of the most important things they need to feel safe. Ironically, the more someone chases them, the less safe they feel, and the more likely they are to pull away. Another major mistake is emotional intensity. Some believe that dramatic expressions of love, long confessions, or heightened emotional talks will make an avoidant bond faster. In reality, it overwhelms them. Avoidants respond better to calm, measured, and consistent expressions of care rather than high-energy emotional displays. Emotional intensity can feel like pressure, and pressure pushes them away. Over-explaining or forcing clarity is another trap. Many people try to repeatedly explain their feelings or demand explanations from the avoidant. While communication is healthy, avoidants feel controlled when asked to justify or articulate feelings they aren't ready to share. This can make them retreat further, even if they are genuinely invested. The solution lies in subtlety. Avoidants attach when they feel safe, calm, and free, respect their space, communicate without demanding, and allow them to come forward on their terms. They need to feel that closeness doesn't compromise their independence. When they sense freedom alongside connection, their nervous system relaxes, and attachment begins naturally. It's important to note that this isn't ignoring them or playing games. Avoidants notice inconsistency or detachment, which erodes trust. The key is consistent presence without pressure, being emotionally stable, respecting boundaries, and creating a non-threatening environment. Over time, this builds deep attachment because they associate you with safety rather than stress. Another subtle mistake is misinterpreting avoidance as rejection. Avoidance may pull back for reasons unrelated to love. Reacting with panic, frustration, or neediness reinforces their instinct to maintain distance. Understanding their behavior as a protective mechanism allows you to respond wisely and strengthen connection. Ultimately, the biggest mistake is assuming avoidants attach like others do. Chasing, overwhelming, or pressuring them pushes them away. The right approach is creating emotional safety, respecting freedom, and being a calm, steady presence. When done correctly, these conditions naturally lead avoidants to attach deeply and meaningfully. The one feeling they attach to. Before we go any further, it's crucial to understand the one feeling that truly makes avoidants attach. Avoidants don't bond like most people. They don't attach through words, promises, or even consistent attention alone. Their nervous system and attachment patterns respond to a very specific emotional environment, one that makes them feel safe without threatening their independence. This feeling is the cornerstone of creating lasting attachment with an avoidant. The core feeling is simple in words but profound in its effect: emotional safety without loss of freedom. What does this mean exactly? For an avoidant, closeness can feel dangerous. Over time, their mind and body have learned that intimacy often comes with pressure, criticism, or emotional overwhelm. They anticipate that if someone gets too close, they will lose control, be judged, or feel trapped. So they develop strategies to maintain distance, silence, withdrawal, or emotional unavailability, even when they feel affection deep inside. Now imagine a relationship where this fear is never triggered. Imagine that instead of pressure, intensity, or neediness, the avoidant experiences calm, steady, and predictable emotional presence. This is what creates the attachment. It's not about making them fall in love faster, it's about allowing their attachment system to feel safe enough to open up. There are a few key aspects of this feeling. 1. Freedom to be themselves. Avoidants value autonomy above almost everything else. They need to know that being close doesn't mean losing themselves. When they sense that your presence is non-demanding, non-judgmental, and supportive, they begin to relax. They can enjoy intimacy without feeling like they are under a microscope. Freedom paired with connection creates a sense of comfort that is almost addictive for avoidants. 2. Consistency without pressure. Avoidants are highly sensitive to unpredictability. Hot and cold behavior, mood swings, or inconsistent attention activates their fight or flight response. When they feel steady, predictable, and reliable support, without being nagged or chased, they begin to trust the connection. This consistency communicates, you are safe here, you don't need to defend yourself or pull back. 3. Non-demanding emotional presence. Avoidants attach when they feel they don't have to explain, justify, or defend their feelings constantly. They feel safe when they can share thoughts, feelings, or moments of vulnerability on their terms. Non-demanding presence allows them to experience closeness without stress. This reduces the anxiety that often prevents attachment from forming. 4. Respect for space and boundaries. Respecting their boundaries reinforces emotional safety. Avoidants are naturally wired to guard their personal space. When this space is honored, they notice that intimacy no longer equals loss of freedom. Over time, they start approaching closeness willingly, which deepens attachment. 5. Calm reassurance over dramatic gestures. Unlike anxious partners who may respond to grand declarations or emotional intensity, avoidants respond to calm reassurance. Simple actions that show care, understanding, and reliability create stronger attachment than dramatic expressions of love. Avoidants register these subtle signs as indicators of safety and trustworthiness. Why this feeling is addictive. Once an avoidant experiences this feeling, it becomes rare and powerful. Most of their life experiences with closeness have involved pressure, expectation, or emotional chaos. When they find someone who consistently delivers calm, safe, and non-controlling connection, their nervous system registers it as profoundly positive. This creates a deep, almost instinctual attachment. It's not manipulation, it's psychology. The avoidance mind begins to associate your presence with safety, emotional regulation, and freedom. They feel good around you without anxiety or fear. Over time, this builds dependable attachment, where they start seeking your presence not out of neediness, but because it feels naturally rewarding. How it looks in real-life behavior. When avoidants attach through this feeling, certain patterns appear. They stop disappearing after emotional moments. They begin sharing their thoughts or routine details without being pushed. They show subtle consistency in communication and effort. They tolerate emotional closeness without feeling threatened. These are behaviors that indicate the feeling has been experienced and attachment is forming. Unlike traditional romantic gestures, this is about the internal psychological state, the feeling that being close is safe, comfortable, and natural. Creating this feeling requires patience and awareness. It's about your energy, actions, and consistency, not coercion. Avoidants attach when the environment you create allows them to regulate themselves emotionally while remaining connected. The moment they feel this, they can't easily forget it. They start approaching you, enjoying your presence, and gradually forming a deep, lasting attachment. Ultimately, this feeling is what turns casual connection into deep attachment. Avoidants are not hard to love, they are simply wired to bond only when their nervous system feels safe and free. Deliver this feeling consistently, and attachment becomes inevitable. What changes inside them once an avoidant experiences the one feeling that makes them attach? Emotional safety without loss of freedom. Something profound begins to shift inside them. This is not just a surface-level change in behavior, it's an internal transformation that affects their nervous system, emotional regulation, and overall perception of closeness. For most avoidants, intimacy has always been associated with stress. Emotional closeness, pressure to commit, or even consistent attention often triggers a subtle fight or flight response. Their body tenses, heart rate increases, and thoughts of retreat or withdrawal appear automatically. This is their nervous system's way of protecting them from perceived threats. Over time, this constant activation becomes a default state, making attachment feel risky and sometimes unbearable. When they encounter someone who creates a safe, calm and non-demanding environment, this pattern begins to change. Their nervous system starts to relax. The tension that typically accompanies closeness begins to dissipate. They feel lighter, calmer, and more in control. This is a critical moment. They realize that being close does not always mean losing themselves or being overwhelmed. Their body and mind experience a new sense of equilibrium around this person. Avoidants also start to regulate their emotions more naturally. Instead of instinctively withdrawing during emotional moments, they can stay present and engage without panic. They become capable of expressing small vulnerabilities or sharing their thoughts without feeling threatened. This does not happen overnight. It's a gradual shift that comes from repeated experiences of calm, predictable, and non-controlling connection. Another important aspect of this internal change is stress-free attachment. Avoidants begin to associate closeness with comfort rather than danger. Their nervous system learns that they can enjoy intimacy while retaining autonomy. This reduces the internal tension that previously made them pull back. Instead of thinking, "I need to escape," they start thinking, "I feel good being here, and I can still be myself." This shift also creates a subtle form of dependence, not in a needy way, but a healthy attachment, where the avoidant seeks the presence of someone who consistently makes them feel regulated and secure. They start approaching connection voluntarily, showing small acts of consistency, and engaging in ways they previously would have avoided. Finally, this internal transformation explains why avoidants often appear different with someone who truly creates emotional safety. They may still struggle to articulate it verbally, but their behaviors, presence, subtle communication, willingness to share, reveal the change inside. Their nervous system has learned to associate closeness with calm, and this is the foundation of deep, lasting attachment. When you understand this shift, you realize that avoidants are not resistant to love. They are simply wired to bond only when their internal state feels safe, regulated, and stress-free. Once they experience it, attachment becomes natural, stable, and enduring. How to create this feeling? Creating the one feeling that makes an avoidant attach isn't about chasing, overwhelming, or forcing closeness. It's about subtle, consistent actions that communicate safety, respect, and freedom. Avoidants are wired to pull away when they feel pressured or controlled. The key is to create an environment where they feel calm, secure, and free to approach closeness on their own terms. Here's how you can do it effectively. 1. Respect their space. Avoidants need autonomy to feel safe. Constant messages, repeated calls, or demanding attention triggers their fight or flight response. Instead, give them room to come to you naturally. If they need a day to themselves, allow it without guilt or frustration. This small act communicates that you respect their boundaries and independence, which is incredibly attractive to an avoidant. It signals, "I trust you, and I don't need to control you." Over time, this builds a sense of emotional safety that encourages them to stay connected. 2. Be consistent without pressure. Avoidants are sensitive to unpredictability. Sporadic bursts of attention or hot and cold behavior create anxiety and push them away. By communicating in a calm, steady manner, whether it's a text, call, or in-person interaction, you send a subtle message that your presence is reliable. They start to internalize, being close to this person is safe. Consistency without overbearing demands reduces their instinct to withdraw, allowing attachment to form naturally. 3. Practice calm reassurance. Grand declarations or emotional intensity can feel overwhelming. Avoidants respond better to subtle, steady signals of care. Simple statements like, "I enjoy spending time with you," or noticing small details from their day, reassure them without pressure. These small gestures show that you are present, attentive, and trustworthy. Over time, they begin to associate your presence with comfort and calm, which is the exact feeling that triggers attachment. 4. Honor boundaries. Physical, emotional, or social boundaries must be respected. Avoid pushing for explanations, immediate responses, or changes in behavior. By honoring their limits, you reinforce the idea that closeness does not equal loss of freedom. This balance of intimacy and autonomy is what makes avoidants feel safe enough to invest emotionally. 5. Encourage sharing on their terms. Avoidants open up when they feel ready. Avoid probing or demanding emotional responses. When they do share, listen actively, respond calmly, and show genuine interest without judgment. This builds trust, demonstrates emotional safety, and strengthens the connection over time. 6. Stay emotionally stable yourself. Your calm, regulated presence directly affects their nervous system. Avoid reacting with frustration, panic, or neediness. Being steady, composed, and emotionally consistent encourages them to stay engaged and gradually form attachment. Your energy sets the tone for their comfort level, making closeness feel safe rather than threatening. By combining these small but consistent actions, you create an environment where an avoidant can experience emotional safety and freedom simultaneously. This is the exact feeling that makes them naturally attached, engaged, and even slightly addicted to your presence. Over time, they don't just tolerate closeness, they seek it, value it, and associate it with calm and stability, creating a deep, lasting bond. By now, you understand that making an avoidant attach isn't about chasing, pressuring, or overwhelming them. It's about creating the one feeling that truly makes them stay emotional safety without loss of freedom. When you respect their space, stay consistent, honor their boundaries, and communicate calmly, you create an environment where they can relax, open up, and begin to bond deeply. Remember, avoidants don't attach to words, promises, or intensity, they attach to feelings. The feeling of being safe, understood, and free to be themselves is what triggers attachment at the deepest level. When they experience this repeatedly, their nervous system shifts, they feel calm, regulated, and stress-free around you. Over time, this leads to voluntary engagement, subtle consistency, and even a desire to be close without fear. This process takes patience and awareness. You can't force it, and you can't rush it. But by applying the principles we discussed, respect, calm, reassurance, honoring boundaries, and emotional stability, you plant the seeds for a natural, lasting attachment. Avoidants notice when someone truly understands them and gives them space to feel secure. That's when the bond becomes real, deep, and enduring. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Share your experiences in the comments. How have you managed to create emotional safety for an avoidant in your life? Your story might help someone else navigate their connection too. At the end of the day, relationships with avoidants aren't about pressure, they're about creating the feeling that makes them want to stay. Focus on that feeling, be consistent, and watch how attachment grows naturally, quietly, and powerfully.